So I wanted to share with you my experience of the past couple of weeks because some significant things have happened in my world that I am still processing. I haven't stopped crying over them. And they also have, in my opinion, an impact on the material that we are covering in this class. It's relevant to what we're talking about. So I posted this on the discussion board, and some of you might have seen it. But 2 weeks ago, I was in Sonoma, California, where I lived for 10 years. I lived in Sonoma County for 10 years, and I lived in San Francisco for 13 years. So altogether, I spent 24 years of my life in the San Francisco Bay Area, but the last 10 of them in Sonoma County. So I was visiting, and 2 weeks ago, Monday, a friend of mine sent me a text and just said, "Are you okay?" And I had no idea why she was asking me if I was okay. And then, of course, you might have heard that the largest wildfires in the history of the state of California were ripping through Sonoma County. And so a couple of days later, it turned out that the fires came within a mile and a half of where I was staying. And so I had to evacuate. And as part of that evacuation process, a friend of mine and I, we did some reconnaissance driving around the town of Sonoma, which is where I was and which is where I used to live. And Sonoma County, California, if you've never been there, it's a place that the horticulturalist Luther Burbank, who was from that area, called it God's chosen place on earth, because it was a place of extraordinary beauty. And it was a place of just miraculous medicine land on so many levels. And so driving around in the wake of this fire, I had the experience of seeing my homeland of 10 years turn from heaven to hell overnight. So places that used to be just, fields of wildflowers or groves of oak trees were just burnt rubble. And if you followed the news, this fire also affected a good portion of the city of Santa Rosa as well, which is the capital of Sonoma County. So consequently, the reason why I sound the way that I do is because I developed an upper respiratory infection from the smoke inhalation, which I'm still recovering from. So miraculously, I was protected the whole way, really. And other than this illness, really didn't experience any harm to my property or, most of my friends were okay. A friend of mine lost her entire home. I was supposed to have dinner with her on Sunday night, the 15th, and the home we were supposed to meet in for dinner is no longer there. So what does this all have to do with our food? For me personally, I feel very changed by this experience. And I'm still assimilating what this change is. But what it feels like to me right now is that there's no more time to hold back my, yours, our genuineness. Some of you, I don't know if you've had the experience of being in a climate disaster or being in a war situation or being in something intense and destructive that's beyond your control. But so this was my first experience of brushing with climate disaster. And what's coming through for me right now is that I can no longer separate out my personal journey from the journey of the planet and where we are collectively right now. It used to be, prior to last week, that, I had my little bubble. Like, well, yes, there's problems in the world, and yes, I can read the papers, and yes, it's bad, and all of that. However, I can still take my hikes, and I can still go to Whole Foods, and I can still, get my body work done, and I can still do my meditation practice. And so there was a sense of being insulated from all of that. And that bubble of insulation has now broken open. And actually, I'm quite grateful. So what I want to bring back here to this class is that, what brings us to a path of mindful eating? It starts out initially as our personal pain. And, that's the working basis of the path. So it might start out as a struggle between me and my chocolate-covered almonds, or me and, my potato chips, or me and my overeating, or whatever it happens to be. And that is an absolutely valid and, in fact, really necessary place to start. But in the healing of this, what I want to encourage you to consider, and I'd love to hear your feedback about this, is that our path of personal healing is now, because of the crisis that we are in on this planet, our path of personal healing is intimately, directly, inextricably linked to the fate of the collective and to the fate of the Mother Earth. And so later in this class, I'm going to post a PDF file of the most environmentally harmful foods to avoid. And I would encourage you, if you are interested in this, to do your own research about this. Because the food choices that we make, one of the most powerful ways that we can influence the well-being of the planet is through the stewardship of our personal resources. So using money, for example, I was listening to a wonderful woman last night. Her name is Lynn Twist. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. Oh, she's wonderful. Lynne, and her last name is Twist, Twist. I mean, she is a visionary on this planet right now. And her work is around the soul of money and the energy of money. So all of us, no matter how much money we have or we don't have, the money that we have has tremendous power. We can, money can be used to kill, money can be used to cure, it can be used to heal and cleanse and renew, it can be used to damage and destroy. So taking your money, taking your life force, taking your power, and directing it to the foods that you know will benefit your body, that will keep you healthy, that also create wealth in your community, and that help to, if not actually heal the planet, then to preserve the natural resources that are still left. So I just want to invite you into this bigger perspective that our choices around food are not just simply us going to the supermarket and, oh, what am I going to eat for dinner tonight? They have tremendous global and personal and social impact. Yeah, and I think I'm just going to leave it there and unmute you. And I want to invite you to offer your feedback or your perspectives on anything that I just said. And also, this is a great time to ask questions about the course and the curriculum and to share anything that's on your mind.